Is this new or should it be?
Or after the story for all ages, obviously. Um, okay. I hope I remember that because there's something else we're sticking over.
Yeah, new just get.
Let us now settle into a spirit of worship with a moment of quiet, to be followed by our music director, Matthew Johnson, playing a prelude of Johann Sebastian Bach. You are also invited at this time to light a silent candle of joy or sorrow.
Our chalice is a reminder that in hard times, our ancestors in faith acted with courage to bring hope and safety, to bring life itself to threatened people. So we light it today as a reminder of who we are called to be in a world still dangerous and despairing. With courage and faith, we bring ourselves to the work before us.
Good morning. Boy, we're a little lopsided here, but that's okay. We're all where we're supposed to be. My name is Beth Posner Waldron, and I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people who do survive and remain active around here as the Nipmuc Nation. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new or visiting with us for the first time this morning. Anybody fall into that situation? No? Okay. Well, we welcome you if you are and don't want to raise your hand. We hope that you'll join us in Fellowship Hall following the service down the hall for refreshments and conversation. And if you have questions or desire more information about the service or any of our ministries and programs, do not hesitate to ask. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in the pews, and they can be placed in the offering plate or given to one of the ushers or greeters this morning. For those who are worshiping with us online this morning, we offer a very special welcome for safety purposes, and so we might come to know you better as you are able. Please type your name on the video feed. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that will be passed around. You're not obligated to sign, but we do appreciate having this information and will use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you would like yours to be read aloud by our visiting minister, Reverend Jen Innis, please print it on an index card in the pew and drop it on the collection plate when it comes around. They will be posted outside the minister's office to be shared with our friends at other services. And for those of you who are online, you can type a joy or sorrow into the chat, and we will read it to share during this time in the service. In the foyer are listening devices and large print service programs and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. Please see one of our ushers who will be pleased to assist you. If you haven't already, please turn your technology to worship mode. And I am very delighted to once again welcome Reverend Jennifer Innis back to our pulpit. She joins us from Peoria, Illinois, where she enjoys life with her spouse, the Reverend Patrick Price, and their children, Nate and Abby. She is happy to be the minister with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Peoria. She is also the director for Spirit Play, a story-based program for young children in Unitarian and Universalism, and I had the pleasure for many years of being an assistant teacher in that program. It's a great program. The back of the order of service has some announcements. I'm going to squeeze an announcement in. There will also be short verbal announcements following the postlude. And so because I did the welcoming, I do get to squeeze in a little bit of an announcement, and I'm going to ask you to indulge me for just a minute. So if you remember where you were when in November of, don't remember the year, maybe 63, when John F. Kennedy was killed, please stand. And if you remember where you were on 9/11/2001, please stand or hold your hand up as you're able. And if you remember where you were that Saturday in 2020, when we learned that one more state declared Joe Biden the winner for their state, so we knew he would be our president, you can stand. And then if you remember where you were, I believe it was a Wednesday, January 6th, 2021, when we were on the verge of another potential civil war like we hadn't seen since the 1860s still stand. And I hope you will stand with me and others from the Get Out the Vote team and Side with Love this coming January 6th. It's next Saturday. We have a flyer that's going to go in the message, and I'll also probably have it in the nugget on Wednesday in case you missed the message, so that you can join people from the Get Out the Vote team and Side with Love and Indivisible Worcester and Congressman McGovern to be standing for the protection of our democracy and to say never again, never forget. And there will be parking around, it's going to be in Elm Park, 12 to 1. There's parking around Elm Park, there's parking across the street at the grocery store. If you want to meet here at 11:30 at the church, we can carpool there. Let me know. You can email me directly or to GOTV, that stands for Get Out the Vote, GOTV at uucworcester.org. And thank you. And take a deep breath. We're so glad you're here and hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation.
Ancestors who spoke with bravest fire, lend us your senses that we may know another world is on her way. Breathe into life with our participation in her creation. Forebears who led the way where was at first no way. Lend us your persistence, your temerity, your assurance that the moral arc of the universe does indeed bend toward justice. Ones who went before us, sacrificing for a future not your own, help us to give of ourselves, that the common stones in our hands today might be cathedrals of compassion, halls of restorative justice tomorrow, sheltering walls for the beloved community the day after. It is Sunday morning, the day we gather. Let us be thankful and full of praise to be in the company of those who came before, yet are ever in our midst. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit. The Spirit of our sacred life will kindle one flame, witness the mystery of His love. nurtured in love and conscience refined, body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit, growing in awe, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of love resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. The story for all ages comes from an article by Charlotte Hare at the Long Now Foundation. So I begin, if I can enlist your imagination, because I came on a plane and didn't bring the prop. Picture, if you will, a violin, right? Something lovely, something beautiful. Usually for the prop, I bring my daughter's, which is a rental, but it's still a violin and lovely nonetheless. And its gorgeous rounded shape and the wood grain on the back, all that it goes into being this wonderful instrument. So with that in mind, I have the question, do you know where violins come from? What helps make that beautiful sound? And that beautiful sound, so much of it comes from the wood that is part of it, that is the body of most traditional violins. There are some violins that are so famous that we know the names of the artists, such as Stradivarius. And one of the places where they find the wood for these wonderful instruments is a forest called Bosco Che Suona, known as the woods that sing in Italy. And these woods that sing are far across the Atlantic Ocean from here. It includes these singing woods, wonderful spruce trees from which people have heard beautiful music for centuries. And even today, the people who make violins go into these woods for the trees. The artists are partners with the foresters. They select the trees they think will make excellent violins. And a felled tree also makes room for new saplings, because making a violin takes a long time. And all that time means there's more room and time for the trees to grow too. So before a tree hits the chopping block, the forester looks around to see if there are tiny saplings that are struggling to grow nearby. And if so, removing that adult tree will let in more sun and help those young saplings mature. One of the other heads of the Forest Service explains that light is the limiting factor in tree growth. He says, as soon as a tree falls down, those who were born and suffering in the shadows can start to grow more quickly. And centuries from now, those trees might become musical instruments as well. Now, there's another place that is also taking care of trees, not far from the woods that sing. So I have another question, which is, do you know where cork comes from? You know, cork in a bottle or cork on the bulletin board we might often see. Because that also comes from trees. In Portugal, forests of cork oak likewise thrive in large part because their utility to human industry. So for hundreds of years, maybe thousands, the bark of these trees has been used to make the stoppers that keep liquids such as wine inside a bottle. And because only the outer coating is harvested, the trees are left to stand in this case, and thus continue to sustain the local systems and human economies. And as the feature in the Huffington Post says, clearly the environment supports rural livelihoods and diets, but also provides a powerful boost to the ecosystem. By resisting fire and drought, cork oaks stabilize a region's sandy soils and hold a line towards the land becoming a desert. And these trees, which are neither irrigated nor treated with herbicides or fertilizers, store carbon. Because a harvested tree needs to regenerate its bark, it absorbs up to 5 times more carbon than an unharvested tree. They also provide plant and animal habitat, absorb rainfall, and prevent soil erosion, and thus they protect the watershed that supplies 2/3 of Lisbon's drinking water. So by harvesting material in a way that lets it come back again and again, the people who make corks for the world support rather than endanger these forests. So by taking good care of natural resources, we actually allow them to thrive in these cases, in turn ensuring their sustainability and availability for centuries to come. Humans have developed a natural bond with these trees that depends on a long time and a long relationship. And I don't think this is anything new. Sometimes long-term thinking is a little challenging to the humans. But trees, alive like us, but for so much longer, can help us imagine a time scale and thus a world that exceeds our own. Here ends the story. At this point, I'd like to invite, if there are families who'd like to go with Robin to a program for today, you're welcome to do so at this time. And now we'll talk about the offering. Hold on, we have an intro to the offering, yes? No, I did the story.
Our offering, one that reflects the values and principles we hold dear, that which is symbolic of our own efforts and capacities, a financial offering to continue the mission and ministries of this congregation. I invite you to participate in our offering as the plate comes before you, and give as it makes you feel good. For those newest among us, please consider this service our gift to you this morning, and do not feel obligated to contribute financially at this time. For those joining us online, or those who wish to contribute digitally, you are welcome to participate in our offering either by texting 508-232-5331 or by visiting www.uucwworcester.org/donate and by following the instructions given there. At this time, our morning offering will be received.
After the music, after this music and before the hymn. We have a slight amendment in the order of service, because now we're going to have the reading. And the reading is My Dreams, They Matter by Roddy Bell Shelton Biggs. Though at times I may forget who I am or who I am becoming, my dreams, they matter. When I make space for all that is, when I move away from that which no longer serves me, when I make space for the new possibility in the circumstances, my dreams do matter. They matter. They hold many truths, many turning points. They matter, though at times I may convince myself they don't. They do. For they call me back in time and forward still. My dreams matter. They matter as they pull me inward and yet simultaneously push me out of myself. My dreams matter. They matter as they speak to the breadth of love, of pain, of hope, the rest deep in the fabric of my blood and bones. My dreams matter as they are connected to the dreams of my ancestors, connected to all who have graced this earth before, who grace it here and now, and will be connected to all who grace this earth when we grace this place no more. My dreams, they matter. Your dreams, they matter. Our dreams, they matter. They matter. Please join me for our hymn of reflection. Number 123, Spirit of Life. We will sing through twice. Please rise and body your spirit. Stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, whose hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of love, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, whose hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We come to that time in our service when we pause to consider what is deepest in our hearts, or mostly profoundly on our minds, or the work of our hands in the days that have transpired or in the days to come. Joys and sorrows which touch us deeply and are given a measure of meaning because we can share them in the midst of a company that claims us as co-journeyers. Those of you who have a joy or sorrow to share this morning are invited to form lines on either side of the sanctuary and come in turn to the microphone, telling us first who you are, so that those using our auditory enhancement devices might also participate in this important ritual, and then light a candle if you so desire. If you would like me to read your joy or sorrow aloud, please bring it with you on an index card from the pew. If you are joining us online this morning and have a joy or sorrow to share, please put it in the chat, preceded by, quote, "please read," so that it can be found quickly and we will share it during that time. Are there joys or sorrows to be shared this day?
Good morning. I just wanted to say that one of my brothers died on December 21st and was buried yesterday. And so keep him in your thoughts.
Good morning, everybody. Member of my family has recently gone through an acute medical situation, an acute mental health situation. I want you to keep him in your thoughts, and I want to remind you all that mental health is just an illness, just like diabetes or cancer or anything else. It is just an illness. If you are having any kind of mental illness issues, please reach out to someone. Please please try and find therapy, whatever. You waited a little too long. Always keep these two numbers in your phone, 911 and 988. Those people are there for you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Martha, or Marty. I have two sorrows this morning. One is for the Pierce family from Gardner. They lost their mom and wife, Doris, right before Christmas, and right after Christmas. The matriarch of the Dubzinski family, I'm sure you've all heard of them. They are very prominent in the sporting world in Central Mass. Irene Dubzinski passed away from Alzheimer's disease. And also, so keep those two families in your prayers. And also a joy, I finally have my house in Lunenburg, although I don't have the keys through a monetary snafu, but sometime this week I will be able to procure those keys and start moving myself to a better spot in Lunenburg.
Hi, I'm Nancy Hancock, as most of you know. It is a time of year that there are a lot of sorrows, but I'm trying to focus more on some of the joys. So I have two joys. One is the beautiful poinsettias behind me have done so well. I attribute it a little to global warming, and it would pain me considerably and be very sorrowful if I have to throw them in the dumpster in a week or so. So if anybody can find in their heart to take one home today, you're welcome to. Try to remember after coffee hour to come back in here and get a beautiful poinsettia. My other joy is, like the song says, "Wings set me free," that we just sang. I think of our young people. My granddaughter was raised in the downtown church, and she often came to youth group here, and of course I'm a proud grandmother. She graduated from Wentworth Institute in biomedical engineering and decided to go to Europe for a few months. And she just came back with all kinds of stories to tell us over Christmas, which was a joy. And then we had a sort of New Year's party Friday night, and she announced, and can you believe this? She's going to Disney World until May to work in the Star Wars shop.
Hi, I'm Sue Nees. I have a joy, and it's not a sorrow, but it's, anyway, I am so happy that my husband and daughter and I got to share the holidays with our families. My grandkids came for 5 days. I was exhausted at the end. My brother and sister and their families came Christmas Eve. We were able to see my sister-in-laws. So this year is going to be an interesting year. My husband and I'm retired. My husband's retiring at the end of March, and we're going to begin the process of moving to Western Massachusetts, where my grandkids live. And so I'm a little really excited, but I'm nervous. My daughter's staying in the area. We found her an apartment in a safe area, thank God. And it's just going to be an interesting year.
Are there any joys or sorrows from online, Frank?
Mystery of mysteries, we are thirsty for justice and bearing witness to grief. We're claiming our inherent wholeness and healing strands of the great web. We are hungry for liberation and for cracking ourselves wide open. We are mourning the dead and fighting for the living. We're singing for joy and striving for meaning. We're embodying love, reaching out in love, acting on love's behalf, and letting that love wash over us, ebbing and flowing as it carries and holds us all. May we do it all over again when the new day comes. In this moment, let me lift up what has been named in our circle of care. We have heard of an acute mental health concern and a call for making sure we take care of ourselves, and it is okay to ask for help. We have heard of deaths, of sorrows, of losses, a brother, a mother, a matriarch. And we hold those in our care as well. We have heard good news, good prospects, hopeful things, keys to a new place. The joy of gathering and hearing of good news from our families. I'm a little envious of the granddaughter who gets to be at Star Wars. This is a good thing. And further prospects of moving, retiring, finding new chapters in life. And we have a final request to be good stewards of the abundance before us and let these poinsettias further enliven and brighten the world. These are good things too. For all that is with us, for all that is in our minds that is unspoken, the names, the joys, the sorrows, the milestones. We hold all in our circle of care. Let us take one more moment and hold this in silence together. One more moment and breathe. Shalom, salam, and blessed be. From the poet Claire Russell, she has a piece entitled Becoming Good Ancestors. And it begins, they are wanting to tell us something, the future people, the people of whom we are the ancestors, yet they are the wiser. They are wanting to tell us what we do now matters. They want us to know that they see the dismembered ways that we live and how difficult it is for us to remember how to return to the family of all things. But their existence, these future people, is testament to the fact that it is possible. They know we feel trapped in this system of entanglements and obligations and the amputations of our imaginations in a system that only ever intended to keep us blind to the bars of our cages. But they want to remind us that there was a time when we could not imagine a world order that was not based on the divine rights of kings. And before that, even, there was a time when we knew what it was to belong, when we knew we were eland and mantis and dancer, when we knew we were the firefly and the ocean and the stuff of stars and the breath of birds. So says the poet. So as we gather on the brink of the new year, I recognize that many people are looking forward to saying goodbye to 2023. But before we leap into the leap year, because it's a leap year coming, let us pause for a moment. One of the reasons many of us look forward to tomorrow is because of what has been lost for us, for all that has been a source of sorrow, for all the death, personally, globally, for the grief. And it's not simply what has happened in the space of the previous 365 days. It feels like 600 sometimes, right? I'm not wrong. But because in reflection, there is, of course, remembering, including remembering our beloved dead of whatever distance past. Remembering can be its own form of time travel. It is longing, it is highly subjective, but it can be this genuine desire for one more moment with a person, one more instant in their presence. And it can also be for those complicated rememberings, the ones that hurt or have hurt us. Can be reliving again. It can be hard in remembering to find a way to achieve escape velocity. For the living, the question is, what now? What is next? And with that question begins the longer concern of our own legacies, our own memorials, or more modestly, relatively speaking, what branches out from our connections, from our relationships and choices, from what we love, from what we fear, and from what we hate. I mean, I am someone who loves to consider the past, what has come to us. It's partially why I love to come to the church in which I grew up. It's a living past to be here. But I am reminded by, well, sometimes a random Facebook quote makes sense. This is the source. Too many people spend their lives being dutiful descendants instead of being good ancestors. Too many people spend their lives being dutiful descendants instead of good ancestors. The responsibility of each generation is not to please their predecessors. It's to improve things for their offspring. Make your children proud, not your parents. Ooh. Wait a second. Yes, amen. And easier said than done. We are these mortal creatures pulled back and forth, back into the past and forward into the future. We live in a language of obligation, of legacy, of living up to of those who've gone before, and that can be so compelling. We can find ourselves not just anchored, but stuck in place. It can be so compelling, not only the positive frame of that kind of sense of legacy, but also bound in legacies of harm and addiction and war and violence. Knowing that we can be so bound by the past and by the present. How do we perceive these future people of which the poet spoke? This is one of the reasons I really appreciate Unitarian Universalism, because core to our theology and our humanity is that we don't count on an answer for what happens after we die. We have some pretty interesting ideas, and a range of them, knowing the theology range in the building. But rather, we practice the struggle of the past and present and future, knowing that this earth, shares a common destiny, that we are part of the cycle of life and death. We work with this moment because we know we have this moment, and we know how much we create hell on earth. Claire Roussel asks, how did you know something else was possible? Where did that idea germinate inside you? Show us, point to the place. Tell us the story of summoning your siblings to revolt for a life of connection and dignity. For what dignity is possible if dignity is not available for all? This too is core in our theology. What dignity is possible if not dignity for all? With that foundation, with that aspiration, we are called to locate ourselves whenever possible. This being pushed and pulled into all that has been and all that is and all that is yet to come, we anchor ourselves and root ourselves in remembering that is about defining ourself, including our dreams. It can look like this anchoring, this foundation, this centering. We heard from Roddy Bell Shelton Biggs talk about claiming your dreams. He says, my dreams matter. They matter as they pull me inward and yet simultaneously push me out of myself. My dreams matter as they speak of the breadth of love, of pain, of hope that rest deep in the fabric of my blood and bones. So we are charged to claim the dream. To claim our dreams, even when the now is a nightmare. Because claiming this dream is to be claiming the self, and we start with this present. It is a beginning. The challenges of which we face in this moment to navigate, how to simply be, and then how to aspire to be good ancestors, can feel impossible. How do you change a path that is running so deep in the daily news, in our daily lives? The presence of violence today is that intractable problem at the heart of so many conflicts and so much death, when we are acting from anger and fear instead of compassion. The world weeps doubled over in tears. It feels impossible. We feel bound and stuck. But how? How to make the change when we didn't know a different choice? The poet asks and reminds us at once of when we have made changes. How did you know? The poet and Roddy offer before us, say that something can happen. It can be different. What does becoming a good ancestor look like? I mean, wait a second. I know. It's New Year's Day morning. We're tired. What do you mean you're asking us to be ancestors? Come on. Because taming such a grand question can feel almost laughable. But I have a story about how to make it more person-sized. And this is shared from a friend. This is my friend's story. She says, I'm sitting in my car on the edge of my child's game practice, crying my eyes out about something big and small and true that happened today. I saw the proof of all of my cycle breaking efforts. So do you remember when you were little, she says, and someone broke something or spilled something and everyone looked around and said, ooh, because you knew someone was gonna get in trouble? With that tone, right? We got that tone. We know that cadence, right? Or worse, when you broke something and your heart sank and fear rose because you knew that a punishment was coming and you know you didn't mean to, but your parent was gonna be so mad. She says, well, this afternoon, I dropped a candle in a glass jar and it shattered and broke all over the floor. And instead of, ooh, or somebody is in trouble, my sweet baby girl called down from upstairs, Mommy, are you okay? That sounded scary. And the thousands of times over her 9 years of life when she broke something or spilled, and I was angry, but instead said those exact words to her. Are you okay? That sounded scary. That flashed through my mind and tears came to me. She will never be afraid of making a mistake or spilling her drink or being her clumsy growing self or trying something that is just beyond her reach or trying something new at all, because I stopped it. It stops here. Getting angry or afraid would never occur to her. Only concern, only curiosity, only empathy. And she finishes. Whatever I screw up in this parenting job and all the ways I cause harm, and all the ways I hurt their feelings, and all the things I do because I don't know better, this one I got right. Today is a trophy. My friend shared a moment that was the beginning of a legacy. This care, this love. Such work is not linear, this creation of the future, but it is legacy with texture and faltering and failure. It is a mere dream that has now already changed the world, that has interrupted the cycle of shame. It has already expanded the heart, because love seen and known is love reflected and amplified. A mere dream can nurture a forest for centuries. A mere dream can interrupt war. A mere dream can ripple into the future and help the people of the future know us. A mere dream can save us right now. May it be so. Please rise and join me for our litany number 652 in the gray hymnal, The Great End in Religious Education. The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own. Not to give them a definite amount of knowledge, but to inspire a fervent love of truth. Not to bind them by ineradicable prejudices to our particular sect or peculiar notions. Not to burden the memory, but to quicken and strengthen the power of thought. In a word, the great end is to awaken the soul, to excite and cherish spiritual life. And now I'm going to confess that I don't have the order of service, and I think we have a closing hymn, but I don't remember which one it is. 67, thank you. We gather. Thank you. We sing now together our song, thanksgiving, rejoicing in goods which the ages have wrought, for one that enfolds us and helps and heals and holds us and leads beyond the goals which are forever once sought. We sing of the freedoms which martyrs and heroes have won by their labor, their sorrow, their pain, the oppressed befriending, our ampler hopes defending. Their death becomes a triumph, they died not in vain. We sing of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, reciters, creators, and workers and seers, our whole lives expending, our gratitude commanding. Their deeds have made immortal their days and their years. We sing of community now, the making in every far continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places. chosen covenant firmly to stand. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we will extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world. Go in peace, embraced by the light and warmth of our gathering. Go in love, ready again to struggle on. Go in beauty, shining forth like a lamp for freedom. Go and dream. Be ready to cast our lives into this new year. Amen. Our worship is ended. Let our service begin.
With a letter.